Hi, Miss Veronica. How are you?
Hey, I am wonderful, thank you. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling better. How's my boy? Hi, Erik.
Erik is here and he is doing this, and he has promised to sit right on my shoulder this whole time because admittedly I'm a little anxious.
Yeah, I know it's a difficult situation. We're about to, peeps, interview Stephen Paddock, the one that shot all those people in that horrible Las Vegas massacre. So, Erik, do you think you can bring him in?
Yes, and he's very protective of both of our energies. He wants to assure us, and he wants to express his sympathies to the families, and I do as well,
Me
and I'm
too.
sure you do. And I want everyone to know that we take this very seriously, and the reason I agreed and Erik agreed to do this is so that we could bring peace and enlightenment to people. And again, Erik is going to guard us and protect us because I feel we're going to need it. So
Yeah, and this is not for voyeuristic
no.
reasons. We just want answers and closures, and maybe some things will help us learn whatever we need to learn to prevent this from happening, or such that it'll happen less, maybe.
It's educational, Erik is reminding us, and yes, we do have him here.
All right. Mr. Paddock, thank you for coming.
He says you're welcome, and he's very guarded. I can tell you his energy is very guarded.
Well, first of all, I have a list of questions from blog members. And so they're kind of helter-skelter. They're not in any particular order, so it might jump around a little bit. But the main thing people want to know is why. Why?
I was born this way. I wasn't created. I was born this way. And the fact that I am not traditional in any sense of the word, I don't fit the profiles he's saying, does open eyes in a whole different way. And if you look at the big meaning behind why I did what I did, you will understand that this is going to wake the world up in a whole different way, and it's going to put the light where it belongs on mental illness.
So you feel like you had mental illness all your life?
I feel that I had a genetic predisposition to this, and yes, I do feel like there was something that wasn't right in my brain, although I did well concealing it.
And did you ever get treatment for any psychiatric illness?
Depression.
Okay.
But it wasn't, again, mainstream. I had enough money to find other vices other than treatment.
Okay. For example?
I would buy and sell things. I could buy anything. I liked risk.
Like gambling?
I liked to take chances. I liked to figure out the odds.
Yeah. All right, so, I know this might not work, but can you give us a diagnosis? What sort of mental illness did you have?
It had to do with my personality.
Like a personality disorder?
It had to do with me having grandiose thoughts. It had to do a little bit with me being narcissistic. It had to do with me wanting control, me getting the accolades, me getting the spotlight on me.
So was it like borderline personality with narcissistic tendencies? Is that what you would say? Or something else like schizophrenia, bipolar disease? There's so many in the DSM listing of mental illness.
In your world, you would probably call me schizophrenic at times. You would probably see me as bipolar. You would probably see me as depressed. Although I want to preface this with, I was a chameleon. I hid it really, really well.
You did.
I'm not going to blame anybody and say that they should have stopped me. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to say to you that I did what I did because I want to show where the loopholes are. I want to show you what you missed.
I will get into that in a little bit, but what triggered this particular thing? I mean, and for example, was there any reason a country music concert was targeted? What was the trigger? There's always a trigger in these things.
It was time. There really wasn't any one trigger. I had been building up to this for a very long time. I intentionally went there knowing what I was going to do.
Yeah.
It was the closest venue. It was the easiest access. I was familiar with the venue.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in under the radar. Nobody suspected anything. It was just time for it to happen.
Well, in your mentally ill mind, what was your rationale?
People need to look at the real issue. It doesn't matter how I got my guns or how many guns I got. That's irrelevant. Your vision of right and wrong when it comes to guns, it's so askewed that it's crazy.
Yeah, you're talking from the perspective of the spirit Stephen Paddock. As the mentally ill Stephen Paddock, what did you tell yourself? I need to do this because blank. What was that blank? What was your logic there? Albeit distorted.
Chuckles. Logic? Do I have logic?
Well, what was your rationale? The human Stephen Paddock. Was it a political reason, ideological reason?
I wanted to, and I wanted to prove that I could.
Okay.
You see, for me, it's always been about doing the things that people thought I couldn't do, or people thought no one could do.
Well, some people say that the government exerted some sort of mind control on you and said that you were forced to do this or your family would be tortured. And rumor has it that the Batman movie shooter was a MK Ultra victim, which is mind control from the government. Was that the case?
Not at all.
Okay, I figured out. Did you act alone?
This was me acting on free will, and yes, I was a solo soldier.
So no connection with a terrorist organization or Antifa?
No, but everybody will want to ride my coattails.
Yeah, they did try to.
I created this. I take responsibility for it. The way I owned up to it, I knew it was time for me to exit. I knew I had that planned. I even sent people I loved away so that they didn't have to watch the exit strategy.
Yeah. Was it some sort of spiritual contract that you came in here for or with?
I don't know about that, but mass destruction has always been part of my makeup.
Yeah.
I was never happy with status quo. I wasn't happy unless I was destroying something, whether it was people's expectations, whether it was friendships, whether it was relationships. The thrill I got out of doing things that nobody thought could be done was my euphoria. It was my high. It was orgasmic to me.
Well, I feel so unrequited. I would have liked to have heard a reason like, well, I hate Republicans, or I hate country music, or something like that, or I lost a bunch of money gambling and I wanted to retaliate. Nothing like that. It was just like I wanted to prove I could. That's it.
I wanted to prove I could. And for those of you that think there's a conspiracy theory behind this, it kind of makes me angry because the reality is I did all of this. I masterminded it. I planned it. It was all me. And yeah, I can talk to you about political stuff and I can tell you, yeah, I hit the wall gambling. but none of that was really the impetus to push me into this. It really wasn't.
Well, so it wasn't like a spiritual contract, like I want to shed, I plan on doing this before incarnating so that I could shed light on mental illness or on gun control or on something else. It was not
Hmm.
that, or was it?
It's the mental illness component. Listen, I know I am the most hated man in America right now.
Mm,
I know that.
yeah.
And here's the thing. I had to do this. I heard, he's going like this. I heard that I had to do this to open people's eyes. It's not about the guns.
Okay.
It's not about the guns.
Did you?
I had a plethora of guns. I got guns because I could get guns. Anybody can get a gun.
Yeah. And modify them to become automatic weapons.
Of course.
Did
Of
you?
course.
Did you intend to take your life?
Oh, always. It was always part of the plan. Are you kidding? I wasn't going to stick around.
Yeah.
I was too cowardly for that.
Oh gosh, that's amazing that you admit that. So when you started seeing people being mowed down by your bullets, what did you feel? Oh, Veronica, I'm sorry. If you want to quit at any time, we can, okay?
He's saying that it was euphoric.
Do you have any regrets? Oh,
He doesn't feel remorseful at this point because he sees it as his mission. I went into battle, he said. I had a task to accomplish.
okay. Oh. Well, I wish you had picked a better and more humanitarian task, is all I can say. Did your father's history influence you? Because I know he was like a bank robber and he was a psychopath.
He was a scumbag.
Okay.
He was a scumbag, and yes, I do believe his influence was in me, DNA-wise.
Okay.
I do believe that.
What about your childhood? Tell us about your childhood.
I was a very introverted child. I amused myself. I wasn't your typical profiled person who would grow up and do this. I was mainstreamed in the sense that I was always creating things. I was curious about things. I was developing things. I'm a very intelligent person.
I can tell. Yeah.
And this was pure free will and choice. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Well, tell us more about your childhood. How was your relationship with your parents or siblings, or I don't know. I mean, did you have a good childhood, or did you have child abuse going on in your history?
I shut off a lot. I turned off. I tuned out.
No.
I created the world that I had inside of my own head.
Why? Because did you suffer abuse, emotional, physical, or?
There was a lot of emotional abuse and there was physical abuse. But again, like I lived my life, I was taught that it was to be under wraps. And so if you looked at the surface of what I had, you would just walk by thinking I was pretty normal. Normal, he says, air quotes.
Okay.
Mental abuse was horrific. It was just constant badgering and belittling, and I can see now that it was probably an effort to get me to raise my standards and become more connected to life. I was very lethargic in my connections to life. It was just It was effortless. When I felt like an actor in my life, when I would go out into the world and go to my job and do my life, he says, I was acting. It was a role. I hid my true self.
Well, who emotionally abused you?
I was emotionally abused by my mother.
Really? So your father wasn't, maybe he was not in the picture. Maybe he went to jail. I don't know.
He wasn't around. He wasn't around. And my mother's hurt and anger continued.
Because of the father.
Yeah, it just was a horrible horrible upbringing. I'm not making excuses.
No.
I'm not making excuses.
Well, did you have any physical problems, like a brain tumor or some physical problem that contributed at least to this?
No, and he's telling me his IQ was very high. So
Okay. Okay.
he was not. I'm having like a severe pain in my head right here. So I want to just ask, did you suffer? He's telling me he suffered from headaches, because I actually have it right in my my temple up here.
Yeah.
So he's saying to me there would be times when he would just get these intense throbbing, like a knife in the side here, headaches, but nothing that he was able to look into. He would take he's telling me he took prescription medicine for what they called migraines.
Okay. All right. Now, you were booked at a different hotel before, apparently. And perhaps you were planning to gun down a different event. Is that true? And if so, why did you change and book into Mandalay?
I always knew what I was going to do and where I was going to do it. I have roots with that hotel. Okay. I did my dry run at the other place to feel it out, but I always knew it was going to be that hotel. And I looked at the calendar of venues.
Okay. Why did you pick country music? Because it was going to be a larger crowd, or what? I don't know. Maybe you hate country folks because they're Republicans. I don't know why.
So why the country music? Let me. Honestly, it had nothing to do with what venue it was. It was the date that was more significant.
Well, what was the significance of the date?
He's saying that's personal.
Oh, it's personal. All right. Now, what did your girlfriend know, and why did you send her away?
I wanted to protect her. She is not involved in this in any way, shape, or form. She is innocent.
Now, how do you feel about the suffering she's going through now?
It'll come out that she had nothing to do with this. I can't help what she's going through right now.
Do you feel bad about it?
She'll be fine.
Did you love her?
In the way that I know how to love.
Now, have you met your victims? And yeah, if you did, how did that go?
I have not.
Okay.
I am coming through here probably for egotistical reasons, because I really want everybody to know why I did what I did. And I really want people to know the bigger spiritual picture here is mental illness.
Okay. Have you undergone your life review yet?
No.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a little tough.
No.
Okay. Now, tell me about your ideas about gun control. What do you think about the issue being, the fact that gun control was brought up immediately, right after this happened?
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that people think that you can control the guns and how people get them. It's not possible. It's not possible to do that. I think we have all of our little systems in place and our checks and balances, but obviously there's loopholes. And no matter what you do, you're never going to get people profiled that are really stable to have guns. You're just not going to have that happen. It's not going to happen.
So you don't think like banning those bump stocks that are used to make a semi-automatic into a automatic weapon, would that help? Or banning semi-automatic weapons, would that help at all?
There's a way to get anything and everything you want.
I know, the dark web, I know.
Anything and everything.
Well, what about doing psychological testing on anybody before they can buy a gun, so that you could pick up mental illness and help people that way? Do you think that would help?
I'm a huge proponent of that, yes.
What else do you think should be done?
I think that it should start early in life, education. So there's two parts to it. Educate about nonviolence to your children. Give your children a foundation of love, and they will go out and be of love.
Yeah.
Notice what your child is doing when they're doing it. Notice if they have symptoms. What are the symptoms of maybe my child's a little left to center? Look at your kids. The answer can't come from us right now, right here in this generation. We've got to start over. We've got to start with the little ones, the little ones, the little ones.
But look, you hid your mental illness from everybody. What's to say that won't happen with other people too?
It could. It could. But if we don't take a stand and we don't start somewhere and we don't educate, you know, that's the only hope there is. Because really, do you have the answer on how we're going to get the guns cleaned up?
Yeah. No.
Nobody does. You can pass a bill, you can have this in the referendum, whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Okay. Now, so you had this soul contract to shed light on mental illness. Were the victims, their families, and the survivors a part of that contract?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and if the truth be told, a lot of those victims suffered some form of mental illness, depression, anxiety, and a lot of their families struggled with it.
Okay. All right, so that's why they wanted to become a part of it.
There's a spiritual reason for everything. Humans can't wrap their head around why, but there is a spiritual reason for it.
Yeah. All right, so from your point of view now, how would you have reacted if an event like this happened and you were one of the people in the concert audience? I mean, also, would you have been the one who would have reacted to protect another, or would you be the coward that ran away?
I would be the coward that ran away. I have nothing to lose at this point by admitting that.
Okay.
I'd be the coward that ran away.
All right.
And I'd never put myself in that position. That seems very egotistical, but that's what he said.
Okay. Okay, here's another one from a blog member. Did you ever consider how it would feel walking in another's shoes during an event like this, and how it would change the fate of families forever? I don't get that you're a person that has that kind of empathy that could put himself in another person's shoes.
I never considered any of that.
Yeah.
I never thought about it. I just knew that I came here with a mission and a plan, and it had to be carried out.
Okay.
And the beauty of all of this is nobody's ever going to really know why, except when they listen to this. So.
Okay. Here's another one. Are you undergoing any healing to your energy? And if so, are you still able to comfort your family at the same time? My husband just died, and I'm hoping he is receiving the healing he needs, even though I know he has been around us.
I am in seclusion. I am in shutdown. It's like, so Erik is going to chime in here because Erik is telling me it's like Stephen is just hanging out right now. He hasn't gone through the process yet. So it's not like, Erik is saying it's not like we don't know what's going to happen to him or where he's going to go. He just hasn't been processed yet, is what the word is. He hasn't, that's the best word that Erik can give me. He hasn't been processed yet.
Stephen, is that of your own choosing?
No, I have no choice but to follow the rules here.
Okay. So what's it going to take for you to get processed and get your healing? Some people say you have to ask for help in order for people to.
Erik is saying he has to want it. He has to realize where he's at and this limbo-like state. It's kind of like he has to understand that he can say, look, I'm ready to look at this. I'm ready to go and have a deeper understanding of this. Okay. And for most people, Erik is saying it just happens naturally. We pass over and it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are of dense, heavy energy,
like Stephen,
right, there's a whole different process that happens,
okay.
and they themselves hold it up.
I see. All right. Does the anger directed at you now impact your energy over there?
It's like water off a duck's back, he says.
Apparently, there was some guy who flipped you off. Did you see that? I don't know why somebody wants to know, but they do.
No, I didn't. I didn't see it. I didn't. I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware of anybody seeing me.
Okay. Okay. What life circumstances or belief influenced you to do this? We already talked about your father. And how does it feel to see its impact from your current perspective? You said water off a duck's back.
Duck's back. It's disgusting.
Is that because you feel like, well, I honored my spiritual contract to help the collective draw attention to mental illness? Is that why you feel the way you do?
If you can understand this, in my mind, I feel I did the right thing. I was taking orders. I was given direction.
From whom?
From the voices in my head, from what I was conditioned to believe, what I knew was right. Some people will call me crazy. Some people will call me demonic. Everybody will have a label for me, but I truly was doing what I heard was needing to be done at this time.
Okay. Because there's nobody in heaven that makes you fulfill spiritual contracts. That's of your own choosing. So these were other voices in your head, right? From who?
Yes. It goes way back. I would play with my playmates in my head growing up.
Well, the actual spirits, or are you just making up these made up sounds in your head, voices in your head?
It was me. It was me.
Okay.
I didn't have any demonic energy attached to me.
Oh, that was another question. Yeah.
I didn't have any dark attached to me.
Okay.
And listen, really, this is me just giving you in hindsight. I'm kind of doing my life review right now. Maybe that's what this is about. Maybe that's why I'm here right now, because I'm kind of looking at this and I'm doing a life review. And God knows I never did it while I was alive.
Yeah. So how easy is it to purchase automatic weapons? I mean, what do? Just go on the dark web, or how do you get some of these things?
I got a guy. I got a guy.
So it's really easy then, huh?
It's very easy. It's very easy hookup. And here's the thing. This is what gets it for you right here. This. And I had a lot of that.
And apparently, you can go to the dark web. You can purchase black tar, heroin, anything you want with Bitcoin. So it's untraceable. So it's a problem.
Totally. And you know what? Walk the streets. Walk the streets of Vegas. The dark crevices of Vegas. Gangs. I mean, and here I come, this normal looking man who's, walking the streets. I also had a predilection for prostitutes. Okay. So I would frequent these dark, danky places.
Okay. All right. Also, here's one. Did others know what was about to happen? There were reports early on of a woman in the front rows telling people they were going to die. Oh, my God. I mean, before it even happened.
She's crazy, he says. She's
okay.
Crazy. He said nobody, without a doubt, nobody knew this.
Okay. All right.
So if they say they're knowing it, they're making up stories.
Okay.
How could I have gotten this far with anyone knowing it?
Yeah.
Because people don't keep their mouth shut.
Okay. Who was or were your role models growing up, and why?
I really have a hard time with that. Why? I didn't attach to anybody. I wasn't able to bond or attach I wasn't able to form any sort of mentor relationship. I just kind of went through life. I watched TV shows, but, I didn't really relate to humanity in the way that everybody else does.
Why is
I,
that?
I was always disconnected. I always felt like an outsider. And I learned early on the people closest to you were the people that would hurt you the most.
Is that why you had a hard time establishing attachments to people? Or was it because of your childhood? Or was it nurture or nature? Was it your mental illness or your upbringing?
It was both. And people ask that question, and it's more often than not a combination of both.
Okay.
So it was definitely both.
So I guess there was no father figure for you. I know your biological father was. Why did you choose to become an accountant?
It was easy for me. Numbers come very easy to me.
Okay.
And I love money.
Okay. What kind of music did you listen to?
When I was the darkest, I preferred classical.
Okay.
Loud, raging, classical.
Okay. Here's another one from the same person. From your higher self, what do you want people to learn from that gesture? And I guess we've already covered that. That's a whole shedding light on mental illness, right?
Mm-hmm. It seems like a really hard way to open the door and turn on the light to mental illness, but in the spiritual sense, this was meant to happen. It is part contract.
Okay. Did you lose a lot of money gambling at the end?
I always lost a lot of money.
Okay, but were you still rich, or I mean, did you lose almost everything, or how well off were you financially at the very end of your life?
And he's saying that's a very nosy, intrusive question.
Well, you don't have to answer it. It's okay.
Jeez. He said finances are really no one's business. He had enough to do what he needed to do with.
Okay.
He is indicating he lost big sums of money. I also can tell you this right now. Sometimes he comes in me and sometimes he's over here. Right now he's over here and he's pacing back and forth and he's doing this with his head. So we can see how much more you have to go, but I feel like it's waning down.
I'm almost finished. First of all,
Okay.
You said you had no regrets. Do you have any messages for the victims' families or society at large?
Pay attention to your kids.
Okay.
Pay attention to your kids and understand the signs of mental illness.
Okay. Were you here to learn anything?
If I was, I don't think I learned it.
Okay.
This is hindsight, but I can see now I was very narcissistic. I was very self-centric. It was all about me. And I want to say I want to feel remorseful and I should be sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
Okay, but you don't have any other regrets then, right? Or do you?
Nah, no.
Okay. Can you share? Well, first of all, back to the messages. That message you gave seemed to be for the collective as a whole. Do you have any message for the families of the victims, the families and friends of the victims, or not?
No.
Okay.
No. I keep getting one name that keeps coming. This is me, Veronica. Okay. I keep getting one name that keeps coming, and I'll confirm with either him or Erik. I keep getting the name Jenny. So, Stephen, Jenny, does it mean anything? Erik, can you help me? Stephen's shut down, but I keep getting the name Jenny. So if there is a family member who lost a Jenny, or if there is a Jenny who lost a family member, just know that there's a tie with this man and Jenny.
Okay.
I'm sorry it's so vague, but
No,
that's
it's
the
fine.
best I can.
Stephen or Erik, if he's too shut down, can you share another life that most influenced your one as Stephen Paddock? We're almost finished, and I'm just going to ask one more question.
He's showing me, now this is Erik showing me this. Erik is showing me revolutionary gear.
Okay.
So it's warrior type gear, revolutionary, lots of guns, lots of dismay, destruction. And he's showing me, and Stephen is, again, pacing back and forth and just kind of getting uncomfortable. But and Erik is saying that it was, he was a very prolific murderer.
Is it the American Revolutionary War or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. Okay. I'm not sure where, but it's elsewhere. But he was a very prolific, and Erik is saying very prolific murderer because of Erik's perhaps point of view on war. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, he has my point of view too. Is there anything that Stephen, or through Erik, can share about Stephen that nobody really knows about?
He softened up with that question. Very silly, but I liked ice cream and I liked animals.
Wow. Okay. Erik, do you want to ask any questions before we close? Or Veronica, do you have anything for him?
There's so many questions, Erik is saying, that we could drill into, but Erik and I are in alignment with this because we talk all the time, and I think the connection that we have is depression and suffering with the family with it. And Erik is very adamant about shining the light on mental illness. So from that perspective, I think we both agreed that this would be a good interview to do. Yeah. So I want people watching this, we want people watching this to take mental illness seriously and really take the emphasis off of guns are bad, okay? I mean, there's so much of that. I mean, let's be honest, a gun doesn't shoot itself.
That's true. The person pulls a trigger, and the root of gun violence is a mental illness, of course.
And it's anger and it's pressure. And now Stephen's chiming in and he's saying the way that the world is, it's just going to get worse because the reality of this is, God forgive me, this is him. Okay. It's easier to get rid of somebody than it is to deal with their bullshit.
Oh, wow. Oh, God.
And I'm sorry, I think I need to be done.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Veronica. How's your head?
It went away. The minute he addressed that, it went away. And I'm going to be honest and tell you, I was scared. Erik knows. I didn't know if I could do this.
Well, you always can say, nope, let's pull the plug. I'm done. That was very, very brave of you, Veronica. I really appreciate it. You guys, I'm going to put her website up so you can get in touch with her. It's www.veronicadrake.com. And thank you so much, Veronica.
Thank you. Erik.
Rest.
Erik says, I love you, Mom. Bye. And I'm going to sit with Erik.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Paddock, for doing this. And Erik, you give Veronica a big hug and take care of her. I love you, Erik.
Love you, Mommy.
Bye.
Prepárate.